All right. Tell me something good that happened this week. Any wins? Anyone do something nice for you? You do something nice for someone else you want to brag about? You learned something. Try something new.
Ordered my appraisal.
Yes. Dude, I feel like you've just been cruising along with your under contract.
Yeah, it's been a lot of help, like with the team, but I've practiced like the contract for like 6 months already. So I'm kind of like.
You're ready. You're
Yeah.
finally there, getting it.
Yeah.
Good. Who else? Anything good? I hear Cody's class yesterday was awesome. Ignite. Everyone was loving that. All right. New under contracts, contract or closings and listings. Will you celebrate you yet? You got yours under contract.
Yeah.
You got more coming?
Yeah, I have, this lady wants to sell her mobile home, and then. The one I'm under contract right now, his brother wants to buy some.
Yes, my favorite people, referrals. Yeah, let's see. Erica just took a listing yesterday.
Yeah, another
Um,
mobile home, right?
a mobile home, yep.
On those, do people do like 5% commission since they're smaller? I've heard of people do, of sellers leaving 10% out.
Yeah, if they're smaller, I'll do a bigger percentage or a fixed number.
Okay.
Whoa, that was cool. Yeah, so if it's like usually things that are less than $100,000, I want to charge more because like 100,000 at 3%, you make $3,000. Then you split that, you're 1,500. How much time and effort are you going to put in? So a lot of times I'll be like $5,000 flat fee, something like that. Because then I feel like that makes it worth it. Then it's after the split, you're 2,500. It's a little bit better. That's real common on trailers and then land. Land will often do like 10% type ideas. But you could also do a fixed rate on something like that. Let's see. Allie got an under contract. Who else? We had a lot going on this week. All right, welcome to the team. Who's new? Let's see. We talked about you last week, didn't we? No, you didn't. Okay. We got two newbies. You got to introduce yourself and let's see why you got into real estate and then something Halloween. What's your biggest fear? Yes, Halloween. Okay. Andrew, go first.
I'm named Mark Durham. I got into real estate because I've been doing construction for the last 2 years. And like I started my own company and I'm tired of depending on other people's expectations. I'd much rather work side by side with somebody than work under somebody who's hired me.
Yep.
And so I've always had an interest in real estate. I'm diving into it to try to understand sales better.
Love it. And what are you afraid of?
Hate spiders. I don't know if I'm afraid of them until they disappear. I really hate
I don't want to be around spiders, but like spider webs are like the worst. Cause then there's like, you feel it and then it's the unknown, like,
Is it on?
is it on me now? Is it not? Yeah, I'm right there with you. Okay, Chris.
Chris Brotherson, got into real estate. I've been wanting to do it for a couple years, but then I had a work injury that kind of just was like, go do it, you know? So here I am. I'm afraid of snakes. In third grade, some kid brought one to show and tell, and it latched onto somebody's hand right next to me, and I don't go near him anymore.
Freak you out.
Yeah.
I'm good. Good. Well, welcome, guys. We got Ivan, Trey here. And hopefully more people show up. Usually we have some latecomers, but not. Okay, the retreat. Have you guys heard about this? It's literally tomorrow. This is one of the very few classes that you have to pay for that we offer here at Keller Williams. It is, we honestly, we charge people because the content's that good and we need to limit it to how many people show up because this is something that everyone should go. So it's goal setting in 7 areas of life. We'll go through its health, soul, relationships, fun, career, wealth, and impact is what we do. So we're gonna spend all day tomorrow going through this. If you wanna come, I can get you in for $100, scan the code to come. If that seems out of your wheelhouse, set your goals. But it will be good if you can come. Coming up, when is this, the 5th? Yep, November 5th at 12:30. We're doing understanding real estate ownership through equities and their liabilities. So if you're gonna work with anyone that doesn't just own their house in their name, it's like an LLC, trust, things like that. This is something that's great. I'm trying to go to this because I need more CE classes. This one's core, so it's good. And then Stacy that's teaching, it's awesome. So is that Tuesday?
Yeah.
The 5th? Good. Yeah, so you can go to a team meeting, grab some lunch, and then just hang out afterwards and get a CE and learn about real estate ownership through entities and their liabilities. The ideal way is, according to me, I want to see what she says. If you own a rental property, that should be in an LLC. If you, your personal house should be in a trust. We'll talk about that more in a second, actually. The customer experience, every one of you should go to this. Looks like, let's see, if 5th was Tuesday, then this is the next day, the Wednesday. 1 to 4 here in this room. This one is also going to be CE, so might as well come to that. But Kimber is amazing, first off. So anything she does, you should come watch. And this is all about the customer experience. So they go through the life cycle of a buyer and a seller and how you can improve things. So they have the 5S model, maybe it's only 4 S's, nope, 5-step. S model, I can't remember what all the S's stand for, but it's all how to make what you do better so that you can get referrals and repeat business with everyone that you work with, no matter how far they go through the transaction. So that should be good. Come to that, November 6th. Real Advantage Title is doing their well, it's really all of the vendors, but Real Advantage is participating in it. So it's the chili and soup cook-off at UCAR on Friday the 8th. So if you haven't got enough chili here in this season, definitely come by and get some of that. Just there on Center Street. Oh, have you guys all logged into Command this week? Did you?
Mine's locked, and I texted Hunter about it, and he said to give it 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, yours might be weird because
Yeah.
like people were trying to hack Keller Williams, and so KW preemptively said, everyone's reset your passwords. And I wondered about people like you that probably just got their account
It's like the
right in
day
that
of,
messiness. So if you're struggling, 2 things that you can do. Number 1, just go to mykw.kw.com rather than Command. And that one is usually pretty easy to do it. The second thing is go find Hunter, or right next to Hunter's office is Nova Lee, and they can just reset it with you right there. So walk you through the steps, and maybe we'll just keep bugging Hunter with
I
yours.
tried again this morning and it's locked,
It's
but
locked.
yesterday he said, wait, like I did
Yeah.
too, so.
Yeah, worst case scenario, he can escalate that up, but I imagine they're crazy right now,
Yeah.
so.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, and with this, they've turned off some of the functionality, like you can't export your whole database or delete the whole thing, stuff like that. Just in case a hacker did get in, they can't steal all the information or ruin all of your information. So hopefully that gets all fixed soon. I imagine it's crazy there. Dean has his office hours every Tuesday, so I don't know if you guys are going to that or if anyone's been to it, but usually he has some good wisdom to part, or you can try to ask him difficult questions. Ignite, we are not going to do Ignite tomorrow because we have the retreat goal setting. So the one that was going to be on tomorrow is now gonna be Monday. Becca Summers is teaching Get to the Close on Monday. And then we're starting right up with a brand new session. So good timing for you newbies. We'll get Dan Kennedy first and then Clay Winder. So Wednesday with Dan, Friday with Clay. So that is probably gonna be the best week of teachers. Becca, Dan, and Clay are like three of the top agents in the brokerage, so should be awesome. And like I always get, we got to Ignite After Dark. All right, coming up next week, we are going to do a buyer appointment practice. So I have a recording of someone doing their buyer presentation that we're gonna watch and analyze, and then I wanna like one-on-one practice them. TBD exactly how this is gonna go, because I have a training I'm supposed to be at this exact same time. So I feel like it's semi set up to do solo, but I might have someone come in and help. We'll see. And then next week, we're gonna do practice writing offers and foundations training. No foundation training today. I got nothing planned for that, so. Then the next week, we're gonna work on converting leads systematically. Hunter's gonna come in and help with that. And then the 21st, I want this on everyone's schedule. 100% don't miss this. This is Wealth Building with Johnny Christensen. If you guys don't know Johnny, he is, so Shoney, how he runs the brokerage, CEO of the brokerage. Before him, a couple people was Johnny. Johnny did it for 7 years. He then bought this market center. So he is what's considered the OP, the operating principal. So he's Shoney's boss that way. He is also the regional director of Utah. So he's also Shoney's boss that way. So he's Shoney's boss in 2 different ways. And he loves talking about wealth, and he is very informative and will like change the way that you look at money and things like that. So he's gonna come in just for us on the 21st. So definitely make sure you can make it that day. It's the week before Thanksgiving. Okay, script challenge. Got a challenge for you here. Imagine that you're talking to someone that's like, I want to sell my house, but I'm gonna wait till after the holidays. So I want you to partner up with someone. We're gonna take turns. One person be the fake seller, the other be yourself. And say, oh, I'd love to sell my house, but I'm just gonna wait till after the holidays. And then agent, you overcome that however you can. And then you're kind of paired up, so this is perfect. Okay, ready, set, go. How are you?
Great, me back. I think that would be some of the things.
We can go corner her.
I'm
Yes, I can.
I would say it would be smart to say, watermark is all over you sell it.
Not yet.
People, yeah, you're right. And you people,
But I think we could probably.
Yes, yes.
Oh, really? But regardless.
Yeah, I'll talk to her about that.
It's not sanitary too. So if that is really important, you know, holidays and, I mean, having to add up and move. And or I can see the only thing, but what I just wanted to say. And. Also, if that's right. If. Yeah, you guys think that's the best. Best thing to do, yeah.
Looks like you just took a listing over here.
The first week after the.
Okay, how'd it go? What went well? Wait, who took the listing? Saw them shaking hands.
I set an appointment
Set an appointment for when?
for the week after New Year's.
Okay. What else? How'd you guys do?
Is it bad listing it like, so he doesn't wanna sell it, is it bad saying, hey, let's list your house through New Year's for more than you wanna get and just see what happens? then talk after New Year's and we can set it for what you actually wanna get. Is that wrong?
No, it's just gonna have more days on market. So if that matters to you. But I can see it being just fine. Do you think that there is a way that you could get them to list before the holidays? What would you say if that was your goal?
You could say, like, is the reason we don't wanna sell till after the holidays, cause you just don't wanna move during that time. What we could do is just set your closing date a little later.
Love that. Yeah. But they're like, well, I just don't wanna show my property a whole bunch because all the parties and decorations and the presents and stuff. Can you overcome that?
Take a video beforehand.
Yeah. So I love listing houses in November and December. For a couple of reasons. Number one, people, like, they're busy, but they also aren't really doing things. Like, let's be honest, you have more time to scroll on your phone and find houses. And what do you do on Thanksgiving is you just sit around and talk to your family. And you'll be like, oh, check out this house. Like, that's a normal conversation. You got the whole family in town, so if someone is going to see a house, they're gonna get approval from everyone right off the bat. So it's not like, ooh, I walked through my house, I loved it, I wish my parents could see it. It's like, oh, they're in town, let's do this. Also, buyers don't typically just go see houses for fun during the holidays. They are very strategic about which houses they go to and why. So usually you get fewer but higher quality buyers that walk through. So it's less showings, but more likelihood of an offer. Which is also on the flip side. If you have buyers and they're like, I want to go see a house this month, you are probably more likely to write an offer than if someone said that in the middle of the summer. They're like, let's just go check out a few houses this Saturday. People don't say that during the holidays. So, you can probably get more showings or fewer showings and the same type of offers than if you were to wait till January. Plus, who knows what January brings? Maybe, the weather's really awful and people don't typically go see houses with bad weather. Like if there's snow on the ground, they don't want to drive. But usually it's not too bad November, December. I had one more thought. Oh, your house looks so nice during Christmas, right? You have all the decorations, it smells like pine trees, whatever, all of those things. It shows very well, unless you have a teeny house with too much decorations, which could also be bad. Or if you're like the Griswolds from the family, what is that, Christmas Vacation, that probably wouldn't help you as well, too many lights. So talk to them, figure out why, because some of these things you can overcome with just how the market shifts just a little bit for these next 2 months. Do people still buy houses right now? Yep, all the time. So,
But if they wanna wait for like springtime when the market goes up and like prices go up, like for houses.
yeah, so the future's unknown.
Yeah.
So there's no like chart that says home prices go up. The only thing that is consistent with the spring is more people list it. So then you have more competition, so you have to be better than more houses to be able to sell your house for top dollar. Right now, though, in the winter, it's the serious buyers that want to see houses. And you have less competition, so you can look the best out of all of the houses pretty easily. So I like.
Would
to
you
set up.
use the more competition as a negotiation, or is that something that you?
Yeah, well, buyer's agents will, because they'll be like, we walked through 3 other houses that were better than this, we just like this location better. It's like closer to their parents or something, like not relevant to anyone else in the world, but these specific buyers. And everything else we're seeing is better, but they're willing to make an offer on yours. So we're gonna offer lower because you're not as good as the rest of the active listings out there, kind of a thing. But if you're the very best out of like 3 houses that are available, then people are gonna be like, well, this is the one, I guess. Okay. Let's talk scary situations in real estate. You ready for my Halloween theme? Boo. Okay, let's pretend, wait, and I don't know how I wanna do this. You guys wanna do this as a group? Do you wanna? Try to figure out what you would say?
Seen one yesterday. A little bit.
Okay, let's pretend like you're on a listing appointment, and we'll group chat this on how we would take it. And the seller mentions to you, the house is haunted. What do you do? Do you have to disclose that, first of all?
No.
Nope, you don't have to tell anyone it's haunted. Even if they ask, you can just laugh at them.
Wait, if they ask, you have to tell them, right? Or
I don't know, it seems made up.
true. But if it was like abandoned or somebody died there, do you have to?
You don't have to disclose that up front.
Okay.
But if someone asks you, it usually doesn't hurt to mention it. Like I just sold, my wife's aunt's house that passed away. And they she died in the house, and so we had to replace the carpet in the master bedroom where she passed away, and so, it was newer, nicer carpet in there than the hallway, because they didn't do all the carpets. So people are like, oh, what happened in there? Oh, that's where she passed away, and they're, oh, okay. And no one cared. Yeah.
Did they care if somebody was killed there?
I don't know, some people might. Yeah. There's actually a website that you can go to find out if anyone's ever died in a house. You put in the address and it, people go and research that house. They'll look up for news articles and obituaries and things like that to try to find out if anyone has ever died in a house, but. So do you have to tell, you don't have to tell anyone that it's haunted. What do you do differently with a haunted house?
Curiosity, ask why it's haunted or why they think it's haunted, and then you don't have to tell buyers. so.
Yeah, you finish that listing presentation outside. To not disturb the ghost. You try to list that in October. If you can list a haunted house in October, you're gonna get a bunch of showings. We actually tried to do this. So me and my business partners, we bought a house. It was a short sale, great deal. The seller mentioned that he thinks it might be haunted. When we were doing our inspection, we found oh no, it was after we closed on the house, we were doing a bunch of fixes. And we found this door in the attic that had been sheetrocked over kind of a thing. We removed the sheetrock. There's this door. On the back side of the door, it had scribbled in it, "Mommy let me out." And there were these creepy dolls with all of their eyes drawn out. And they were in the floorboards of the attic. And it was the creepiest thing ever. Anyway, we had renters in these houses, and one of them ended up trying to rob a house and get shot and died. And so it's these three roommates, and what do we do? One of our roommates just died. I don't know, get a new roommate, move out, I don't know. So anyway, we ended up selling it. We listed the house in October. And some of the agents here that love haunted houses were like, can I do a haunted open house? And so they did a open house at night for people to come. Not very many people came. I think it was the marketing, but the house sold. And my business partner lived in it for a year and a half.
Did you see anything spooky?
No. But it was just a creepy old house built in the 40s in Provo, one of those. All right. Next spooky situation. During the selling of the property, one of the spouses passes away. What does this mean for the transaction?
Love that signature.
It's awesome and awful all at the same time. If they're spouses, it's probably really easy. If they're not, it might be more difficult. So, if you remember from real estate school, There's joint tenant and tenant in common are the most common two ways to have title in your name. Joint tenancy is where like a husband and wife own the house together on title. If one of them passes away, their ownership goes directly to the other spouse. So in the scenario where they're spouses, we're probably just fine, and it does just mean one less signature. If the title is in tenant in common, that means that like each of these owners have like 50%, for example, let's say. The person that passed away, their 50% would go on to their heirs, however they have set that up. Which a will is actually not good enough to transfer title to anyone. So you have to go through probate, which is like probably like 2 to 6 week process to get through probate. And then who's ever inherits that house would then be on title. And so I think if it happens during, you'd have to end up going through probate during this whole process, but you're still under contract to buy it if you're the buyer's agent. If the property is in a trust, so easy. Because trust can just pass on, so who's ever the trustee becomes in charge and they just finish the sale. Like if it's like an old couple that's sick and their house is in a trust and they both die, who's ever the trustee just takes over. Super simple. Which, fast forward for you guys, everyone should put their house in a trust. That is probably the best way to do it, because then if you randomly die for whatever reason, your house is in a trust and it's very easy. I've been trying to make my parents do this forever because my mom's dad passed away, my grandpa, and his house was not in a trust, and we had to go through probate, and it took 4 weeks before we could sell it. My grandma, luckily, she hadn't passed away, but she had dementia, so it was like we were trying to sell the house very quickly while she still had some memory with her. But if they would have just been in a trust, trustee steps in, which would have been my mom, it would have been super easy. So if you know older people, get them to set up a trust. It's really easy. They can probably do it for a couple $100, transfer title, everything like that. And they can change things in their title or in the trust while they're still alive too. Irrevocable trust. Okay, scary situation number 3. Your sellers move in and they find this pipe with this mean looking crack all through it right after they close.
Should have done due diligence. Yeah, was it there when you?
This is literally what happened to me 2 weeks ago. I closed. They signed, like, funded and recorded on Friday. The seller moved out on Saturday. On Monday, they text me this picture. So they have a home warranty. We did an inspection. And then after the seller moved out, there must have been something in the way that blocked this. How do we fix this? What would you do? Let's say your buyers call you. Nope, that is definitely not new. There is like definite rust marks
Yes.
and gathering.
The ring at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these little things don't look like they're new either. So what do you do?
The warranty.
So home warranties are great on any new problems. That's what home warranties are for. So if you like, we wanted one because we looked at the furnace and I'm like, this looks really old. And when the inspector came through, he said, hey, the furnace, the AC and the water heater are all very old, like could break anytime, but they're all functioning, which is exactly what you want it to say for a home warranty. Because then when you do like a claim on a home warranty, if you like that water heater went out, they're going to say, great, did you do a home inspection when you bought the house? And you say, yep. And they say, great, send us that report. And when they see the water heater was old, but it's working, then they know that they have to come in and fix it. That's their first step. They try to fix it. Then if they can't fix it, then they will replace it. And every home warranty is different. Some have like a limit of like $5 grand, $6 grand. Some will cover the whole thing. And so But a pipe like this is not covered in a home warranty because it is not new. So what do you tell your buyers?
Seller required to disclose that,
If they know about.
If they knew, yeah,
but it looks like it's leaking in there.
yeah, imagine that, yeah, imagine, because this is obviously in a, like a basement storage area, it looks like, so like, imagine she just had a bunch of boxes and it just was like a slow leak.
You talk to the inspector. The inspector should have seen it.
You probably should have, he did not. What do you do? What do you tell them?
So she go to like, not go to court, but you have to find a way to resolve it with the sellers.
So. Every home in Utah is sold as is. It literally says that in our contract. So your due diligence period is to find everything that's wrong with the house to make sure you're okay with it. If you find something new, like Ivan, for example, just had a home inspection on his under contract. And they found all of these things that they did not know about beforehand. So then they went back into negotiations and tried to figure out what can we, like, if we would have seen this in the inspection, it would have been very easy, like, hey, this pipe is cracked, please fix this. We did not ask for that because we did not know about it. So what I told the buyers in a nicer way than this was, welcome to home ownership. They are 100% in charge of everything that happens. They can decide if they want to fix this. It's obviously been this way for a long time and it doesn't seem to be causing issues. So they could say, let's save up some money before we replace it. It also looks like if you unclamped here and here, that you could swap that broken part out for a new spot. So I said, do you need a plumber? And he said, actually, we're related to one.
Where is that? Do you know?
No, I don't. Looks like a drain pipe. Yeah, Ivan, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, drain pipe. I mean, there is, it looks like a gas line next to it. So it might be like a laundry room or something.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if that's above their laundry, because their laundry is in their storage room.
Yeah, it's probably, that's the same thing with the house I'm in right now.
Yeah.
It's in the laundry room.
How hard would that be to fix?
Not hard, you just chop it off. Go and
Replace it.
Yeah,
Is it PVC?
You know, it's cast.
Yeah, that's cast iron.
Oh.
That's expensive.
yeah, that would be more expensive, but
Just for materials?
it'll be the same.
Same thing. But more expensive.
Were they pissed?
No, they were cool because I guess, so it's my cousin, her husband's uncle is a plumber. So I guess he said that he could do it for like $900 or something. So it's like, well, this sucks, we just have to pay $900, literally the day we moved in. I had something very similar to this happen to me where when I bought my first house, I was trying to make my offer very aggressive to get it, because there was a lot of people seeing the house, but they didn't have offers yet. So I wanted them to accept my offer before anyone else made an offer. So I did not include a home warranty. The day I moved in, like literally moving in the middle of July, my AC went out. Moving into the house, I called the agent and I said, hey, the AC is not working. Like, is there some trick I'm missing or anything? Like, nope, it's been working the whole time we've owned the house. And so then I called an AC guy, he came out and said, oh, it actually has this part that's too small or something, you need to replace this whole thing and it will work. And I did that and I had a great AC, but I paid basically $1,200 the day I moved in to have AC. If I would have had a home warranty, they would have paid $1,200 and I would have paid the service charge to get them out here, which is $60. So that from then on, I put a home warranty in all of my personal houses that I bought. Because I would rather add $500 to my purchase price and add a home warranty. Just so I don't have problems like that. but the risk, right? You get a home warranty and nothing happens, you wasted $500. But if everything happens, then they cover everything. Okay, I want to spend a little more time on this one. You are the buyer's agent. You get a call from the lender that the appraisal came in $10,000 low. What do you do? You panic and call me.
I mean, you could either just write the addendum and lower your price, or you could just drop out and get your earnest money back. That's kind of what I'm going through right now. That's what I'm thinking is might happen.
Yeah,
The seller doesn't need to follow the. Whatever.
nope. So I always think of negotiation as like who holds the power. Like when you make an offer, really the buyer and the seller are kind of equal. Unless there's some other force, like if you're the buyer and the seller says, I've had 20 showings and we've been on the market for 3 days. Who has more power, the buyer or the seller? The seller. If they have multiple offers, it's in the sellers. Now, if the house has been on the market for 100 days and they haven't had any offer, who has more power? The buyer. So when you're under contract and you're all the way to the appraisal, which is usually 2 to 3 weeks in, when you get this, who has more power right now, the buyer or the seller? Well, let's walk through this through the seller's lens to figure out what would be best. So, let's say we're under contract for 510. The appraisal comes in at 500. If the seller says, come up to 510, so come up with $10,000 cash, because that's how you bridge the difference in it, right? The appraisal is the most that the lender would loan on it. So you would have to come up with $10,000 as a buyer. If your buyer is saying no to that and cancel, what do you think the sellers are going to end up doing?
It's dragged out for another few weeks at least, right?
Yep. Do they think they get another offer? Do you think it's at 510?
There hasn't been any other offers.
If you were a buyer's agent and you saw that it was under contract for 2 or 3 weeks and then the buyer canceled, and your buyers are thinking that maybe we'll make an offer, and you call the agent and you're like, I noticed it was under contract before. How come your buyers canceled before? What's that agent going to say? We didn't appraise. So then as a buyer's agent, you're going to say, what did you appraise for? Because we're probably going to appraise for that again. And then you're going to say 500. So then now your offer, even if you were originally thinking 510, you're going to offer 500. So back to this, when your buyer appraisal is low, who has the power? I think the buyers have more power, because the sellers are stuck with an asset that they think is worth more than it actually is. There is a chance that they got a bad appraisal.
Even this.
When you're under contract, I would only come down to this. But if you heard from someone like, oh, hey, we appraised for 500, I would not offer above 500. I might be at 500 or below. Like even the house that my cousin just bought, they did an appraisal before, and we offered 10 grand lower than their appraisal that they did. And it actually appraised for 5 grand higher than our purchase price. So I'm like, sweet, it's an equity for you too. Congratulations. Which is kind of a lie, which I'll talk about in a sec. So as a buyer, you kind of have some power, because what's your next move? Like, let's say you cancel as this buyer. What's your next move? You go find another house. Like, unless you have to be in or closed by a certain deadline, you can just walk away. Probably within your appraisal or your financing and appraisal deadline, which means you get all of your earnest money back. So there's like nothing wrong that happens. So it's very easy as a buyer to walk away. As a seller, you don't want them to walk away. So the buyer has a little bit more power in this situation. It's a little shifted towards the buyer. So with that in mind, how do you get the seller to come down? Yes, that is the answer.
You already signed for that amount, wait. You changed your asking.
Yep,
price?
you just change your purchase price. There's two ways to do this. There's the nice way and the jerk way, but they're both the same. The nice way is you call that agent and you say, we got our appraisal, it came in $10,000 low. We are requesting to match that appraised price. Let me know what your sellers say. That's the nice way. The mean way is you send over an addendum and you call that agent and say, hey, I just sent you an addendum. Our appraisal came in $10,000 low. We are adjusting the purchase price. I call that the mean way because then you don't have any like back and forth conversation type negotiations. As for the buyer, here's what I would say to the buyer as a script. When the appraisal comes in low, I tell them, this might be good news for us. What it means is it gives us a chance to get the property for even cheaper. So I'm gonna go to the seller and ask that they come down to our appraised price. They're gonna come back and say we should remove commissions, concessions, or find cash to come up. Usually we're gonna end up meeting somewhere in the middle. So if you had to come up with the cash, a little bit of cash to get the home for less money, could you do that? In this scenario with a price $10,000 lower, let's imagine we meet right in the middle. Buyer, could you come up with $5,000 to get the home for $5,000 cheaper? So your payment is now based off $10,000 cheaper. So it could be a win for the buyers. They just have to find some cash to take advantage of it. So this is the question I ask the buyers. If you had to come up with some cash to get the home for less money, could you do that? Their answer is no, then that's my negotiation. We can't come up. Money has to come from somewhere else. If the answer is, oh yeah, I got 10 grand, then it's like, great, let me go see if they'll agree to less than that and you can keep more of that money. But I know that we can make it work either way.
So if they're appraised for 10 grand less,
Mhm.
they want you to give 5 in this situation. So
Yeah.
you just bought the house for 5 grand less than you were originally going to, or
Yep, so what they're saying is the most that they will loan is your down payment plus the loan up to $5,000. So if you want anything more than that, you have to come up with cash. And so like, let's say your buyers had 2 grand. Then you tell the sellers like, the most we can come up with is 2 grand more. So we'd close at 502 rather than 510. So they're still getting a loan at that 500 number, but they're paying 502. Does that make sense? And answer your question? It's kind of confusing.
How different was the script like 2020, 2021 when everybody was offering way above?
Yeah, the script was, as a seller, hey, come up with that difference or I will go accept another offer. Because if you have 10 offers and you pick the best one and then they said, hey, we didn't appraise, you'll just say, I'm fine with that. I have 9 other people that are all willing to pay this. So I'll go talk to one of them. So as a seller's agent, you should try to drum up as much interest constantly on your property, because then you can use that as leverage. When the buyer comes and says, hey, we're under contract, been under contract for 3 weeks, and now the appraisal is low, you can say, oh, you know what? I actually have like 3 people that have called me on it that would love to come see it and make offers on it. So you can kind of use that to strengthen your position and get them to like worry and try to bring up some. But if you're just like, I'm under contract, I'm good. Like, who knows what's going to happen, right? You want to keep some power in this whole scenario. So this is what I tell my buyers. And then I like to go the nice way and have conversations with people. Why I think it is nicer is it is very easy to go back and forth negotiating over the phone rather than get an addendum and then I have to send them a counter offer if I'm not okay with that. And then they send me a counter offer. It just causes a lot of paperwork. So I think that's a jerk move to do, and I wanna do less paperwork and more conversations, and we can go back and forth. By the way, the sellers see all of this as a net. Right, if the price is at 510, they're gonna pay, let's say it's 10,000 in closing costs, so they're at 500. Then they're gonna have a little more than $15,000 for buyer's agent and seller's agent each, so they're like 30 grand-ish for there. So their net is somewhere around 470-ish. So if they can net 470 again, we can change a few of those things. We can negotiate commission, which is my last thing that I do, by the way, and concessions. So this, you might bring in the lender and be like, great, so we have 10 grand of concessions. What if we brought that to 5 grand? Could you like wrap some of those closing costs into the loan and get them a little bit higher interest rate that they would still qualify and do that? So you can bring the lender in, you can ask the other agent like what the sellers are willing to do, what the buyer's willing to do, and then it comes down to the agents. And I always say, what are you willing to do, agent, to make this work? And then the last case scenario, I will lower my commission to make it work. But that is my last step. Because we spend the whole first of the transaction fighting to try to get the most commission. I don't want to just give it away at the end. But 100% of $0 is $0. So I would rather it close than not. And so if I could like take $1,000 off to make it all work, and I'm gonna get 15 grand, it's like, all right, I guess I could get 14 instead of $15,000. Like, that's okay. All right, same thing but flipped. You're the seller, you get this phone call from another agent and said, hey, the appraisal comes in $1,000 or $10,000 low. We want your sellers to come in and bring the price down 10 grand. First of all, what do you tell your sellers? The appraisal came in low. You got to tell them right off. Rip the Band-Aid off. There's this book, Eat That Frog. I've never read it, but I understand the concept as you do the hard things first. So you make a call as soon as you can. I think it should be a phone call, not a text message, to let them know. I don't care, as the seller side, I don't care if they said we're gonna send in an offer or an addendum for 10 grand lower, or we're requesting that they do this 10 grand lower. Let me know what your sellers say. I'm treating it all the same. Now, if they do send an addendum, that's a little more serious. That's why it's a little more of a jerk move. You're not giving me the chance for the back and forth, so I don't like it. But as a buyer, great, let's do it. So here's what I say to the sellers. I say, we got the appraisal back. We sold the house for more than it's worth, and the appraisal came back low. So I want to say, we did a good job, too good of a job. And I say we, meaning me and the sellers, right? I did great at marketing and getting people in and forcing buyers to bid up their amount. So our negotiation was really well. The sellers, they did a good job of showing the home, staging it, presenting it in such a way. So sometimes I'll even mention that to them, like we did too good. Like, you staged your house really well, and then we negotiated hard and we got more money than the house is worth. So then I say, from here, I'm looking for a few comps that the appraisal didn't use to hopefully bring up the value. To be honest, this rarely works, but if it gets you the most money, I'm going to try anyway. Usually what happens from here is the buyers ask you to come down to match the appraisal. We're going to ask them to come up with the cash to match our original price. Usually we end up meeting somewhere in the middle. I'll keep you I'll keep you posted on what the buyers ask for and what we should counter.
If the seller's not in a rush though, and you did have multiple offers, then you'd bring that up here.
Yeah. Yeah, you could be like, you could even say, hey, we have a backup offer. We have these other offers. So the sellers aren't willing too much to come down. So buyers like, come with your strongest offer, because if not, they're okay going to one of these other offers that they got. Now, if you've been on the market for 100 days, you're going to panic and be like, okay, And it might just be that the sellers make 10 grand less. Which sometimes is fine because we already framed it as we sold the house for more than it's worth. We're just coming down to what it's worth. One thing you'll notice in here that was not in the buyer side is I said, I'm gonna look for a few comps to bring the price up. Why would I not do that in the buyer side?
You want to buy it.
I want to buy it for the least amount of money, not the most amount of money. So as a buyer, I will never look for more comps. Unless the only way to make the deal work is if we bring the price up at all, any. But as a seller, I want to bring the price as high as possible.
So does it mean that you are like trying to make the appraisal go
Yep.
higher?
Yep.
Do you have to
You can negotiate with them.
Not really. So you can get a copy of the appraisal. And in it, it will show all of the comparable properties that they used. So then I'll go to the MLS and see, was there anything else that they didn't use? I actually did this on my personal property. When I was doing a refinance. And this was, let's see, it was 20. When did I buy that? Probably 2014, 2015. I bought my house. And then a year and a half later, like the market had been going up probably 6% a year and a half later, they said that my home was worth less than it was when I bought it. And I said, appraiser, like the number that you put here, if I were to list the property for that much money, I would get multiple offers. It was like a duplex type property. The basement was like separate utilities, separate entrance. There was no connecting staircase, nothing, like duplex as you could possibly be, but a single family house. And I'm like, I would get multiple offers. So I looked at his comps and then I found other comps. I actually found a house that was 2 streets away, exact same floor plan that he did not use, that had sold for $15,000 more than he was saying that we were worth. And so I sent that to him and I said, you missed this. And I said it nicer than that, because if you say it like that, the appraiser is just gonna say, no, thank you, and give you the middle finger and walk on, because they don't care. But he actually looked at that and he's like, oh, you know what? I did, let's add this. And then he brought the value up and I was able to refinance just fine. So it usually doesn't work, but you can do that. Yeah, buyer, you don't do that because you want to get it for the lows. Then we're gonna go straight into negotiation. Like, buyers, come up with as much money as you can. Let's strip out some of these commissions, some of the concessions, whatever we can. And that's usually where I start. Hey, you had $10,000 in closing costs, we're 10,000 short, we just can't pay the closing costs. Can you wrap that in your loan? Can you do something? Put it all back on the buyer to go do.
You can start like taking appliances and stuff too for the price, right?
Yep, you could be like, oh, you know what, like, we did include the fridge, but actually we're not gonna include that, and then they can just sell that fridge, like on Facebook Marketplace or KSL or something. Same with washer and dryer, try to make up for some of that. And then again, we're gonna work on everything that we gave the buyers already. We're gonna remove a home warranty, we're gonna remove concessions, we're gonna start to negotiate that agent's commission down. And then the last thing we will do is negotiate our own commission to make it all work. Questions?
So even though you receive that offer, you
Mhm.
negotiate all of that
Yep,
if something like this happens.
yep. If you get in a low appraisal, it means we're back in negotiations. So I mentioned something earlier I wanted to double click on. Let's pretend that as a buyer, appraisal comes in at 500. You are under contract for 510 and you actually close at 510. What is your house worth? You sure? Let's say the month after you close, the exact same property down the street closes. Who's the comp?
You.
You are. And what are you worth? You sold for 510. So now that house gets to use you as a comp at 510. So then that they can justify the price of 510 and probably sell at 510. So when you close, you become your best comp. Because then you are gonna affect every house around you. So if you overpay for a house, all that is doing is making every other house around you more valuable. Assuming that they can keep getting offers to that level. Right? If people keep bidding below price, then we're gonna systematically trickle down. But that doesn't happen often. So even if you overpay, now you're the new comp that everyone else will use to justify that price and probably get that same price. And that's kind of what happened in 2020 to 2022-ish. Someone listed at 500, then they got accepted at 510 and they closed at 510. So then someone else uses the 510 as their price, but then they got an offer at 520 and then that became the new price and we just went up like crazy. And that's how we jumped like 20% in a couple of years. So even if you pay,
You are not happy if someone sells really cheap.
yep, you want your neighbors to sell for the most amount of money possible. So force your neighbors to use a good agent. Like you. Let's see, do I have, one more scary situation. Your buyers do a mold test and it comes back positive. There is mold in the house.
Sure, due diligence.
Yep. What do you do?
So they need to clean it. And
Yeah.
ask for them.
Yeah, again, who has more power in this situation? The buyer. Because the sellers, if they still live there, they're living in a mold house. If they don't live there, they have to fix the mold before they sell it because now they know you will inform them. You're going to give them the mold report back. And so in their disclosures, they now 100% know that there is mold and they have to remedy it or disclose that there is mold in the house. So buyers have way more power in this scenario.
From personal experience, that mold comes from somewhere.
Yep.
So be extra aware of.
Yep.
What caused it.
Yep. Moisture.
Yes.
So there's a pipe leaking or water is getting into the house somehow.
Close it after you remedied it.
Nope. Nope. If you've 100% fixed it, then you don't have to disclose it anymore. Same thing with meth. So like a meth house, if you find meth, that's like, I feel like you find meth, you hit the jackpot because those sellers have to fix meth. You cannot rent a meth house to anyone. And so the way that you fix meth is usually you get all new carpets and you get all new paint for sure. Sometimes they even have to tear out sheetrock, which means they have to go down to the studs and you could add a couple outlets pretty easily if you wanted to. So this is almost like a huge win for buyers. Do buyers see mold in their house as a win?
No.
Definitely not. But we are going to make the sellers remedy it. So my suggestion here is very similar to all the problems that you find. I want you to go into like offense mode and like let the buyers know that you have their back. So this would be like, okay, buyers, we found mold. Here's what we're going to do. And as quickly as you can, tell them what you're going to do. First step is I always want to know what has to happen. So like, I literally might call Ivan and be like, Ivan, I found this weird pipe. How much does it cost me to fix that? Like same kind of thing. We're going to just go into help mode. So, you know what? Let's get a mold expert out there. There are people that have mold sniffing dogs. Like you can hire someone to bring their dog into the house and find where the mold is coming from. So first we're going to isolate where it comes from.
Do we have their?
Yep. Yep. And so we'll isolate where it comes from, and then we'll get them to give us a bid on what they would have to do to fix it. Then we're gonna put that all back on the sellers to fix it before we move in. And usually, like we talked about, mold comes from moisture, so where did the moisture come in at? And we need to make sure that that's stopped.
When you're asking for a bid, do you do what like Cody said yesterday, when he asks for like a Hollywood bid or whatever he said, and then a normal bid?
Ooh, I like that
So,
idea.
Yeah, he says, he'll go to the sellers with the Hollywood bid. If they're like, I'm not paying 20 grand to fix that, I'll pay you 15 grand. He's like, but my normal bid came in at 11 or 14, I still win.
Yeah,
That's what he was saying.
Yeah. yeah, I like that. As a seller, I wanna get multiple bids and I'm gonna use the cheapest person.
Yeah,
As the buyer, I am not gonna use the cheapest person. I probably won't use the most expensive person. I'm gonna use the middle person. But as a seller, I wanna use the cheapest because the cheapest is not my house. And so I don't care if they do a bad job as long as they do the job. Yep. If we pay you to remove mold and you say that you're gonna like rip out some sheetrock and then repaint. And you do a bad job of mud and tape and paint and everything like that, and that's why you're so cheap. I don't care because I'm the seller. But as a buyer, I want a nice wall, so I want you to replace that with the expensive company. So going to offense. If you have no idea what needs to happen, pretend like you're going into offense. Be like, okay, buyers, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go reach out to someone who knows about mold and get a game plan with them and start putting that in action. I'm gonna keep you updated. And then you have to go do something almost immediately and update. They need to know that you're on their side and you're taking care of it. If your due diligence deadline is very close, the first thing you're gonna do is extend it. Because they wanted that house. Like this happened to my cousins, by the way. They just bought a house. They found mold in the house. Luckily, we had enough time to do it, but we had seen 10 or 11 houses. And they said, this house is amazing. And so it's like, if that house, like, when we found mold, they were all worried about like, if this whole house didn't have mold, would you be happy to close on it? They're like, we would love this house. Great, let's get rid of the mold. And so we hired the guy with the dog, but he didn't have to bring in the dog because it was isolated into one room. And then they figured out what was going on in it and the sellers fixed it. We did give them a Hollywood bid too, and they ended up finding their own person. I didn't know it was gonna be a Hollywood bid. I like that concept though.
yeah, what did he say yesterday? It wasn't Hollywood.
It was
Beverly Hills.
Beverly bid.
I hope to not go up against him for at least a couple years.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the, I was negotiating back and forth a bunch with this agent. And he was really good at it, and what he was really good at was just asking for the things that he wanted.
Yeah.
Cause like the appraisal came in low. And I was just like, dude, like lower your commission. And he's like, you know what? I'm on a team, I have a split. And I have to pay a showing or a referral fee on this. Like, I'm not making money. The only way this makes it work is for me to earn more commission. And I'm like, did you just ask for more commission when we had a low appraisal? Like, good for you. But he actually got a higher commission than anyone else would have because we were offering 2%. He asked for 2.5%. Or actually he asked for 3%. We settled at 2.5%, but the buyer or the sellers were very against paying commission. So
Say like hypothetically, your buyers are flippers and they wanna like fix it on their own or renovate it on their
Awesome.
own. Can you just like get a stipend off the price? Or
Yep.
how does it- how-
Yep. So that's where you would go in with your Beverly Hills bid and say, for us to fix this, it would cost 20 grand. We'll just take that right off of the price. Depending what it is, some lenders will not lend on it unless it is fixed. For like foundations, for example, if you find like there's this crack like this big in the foundation, a lender will not lend on that. So you will have to find cash, but there's like hard money loans. So a flipper, if they still need to get a loan, they could go get a hard money loan to close on that house. It's just not going to be at a 6 or 7% rate. It's going to be at a 10, 12, 15%. Yeah, it's whatever. Yeah.
Foundation, or how do you fix that? Just here or-
Yep,
Hopefully that's.
yeah, we'll find Brittany. Yeah, with that, I actually had a buddy who bought a new construction house. And then half of it started to sink, like so bad that the countertop broke. And so to fix it, it cost 80 grand. But they literally went into like the basement and the garage, and they chiseled out sections like this big. And then hand dug down. And then had to like put piers in and lift the house back up. And pour new footings
Yeah,
to make it all
I
happen,
was
so.
in Pierce for a second, but out in Eagle Mountain, there's a house that. It was a 2-story house and literally the bottom story sank that much and it just separated from the top. It was insane. So they
So
just had a gap that big in between their stories. That's so weird.
Yeah.
They sued the city and made a lot of money.
So, did you guys notice any themes of how we handled, more of these negotiation end ones?
Sorry, positive.
Yep. Yep. Is mold a good thing? Can be, if you can get new stuff. And you know that you're gonna get a house with no mold. Most people buy a house and they're like, maybe there's some mold, maybe there's not. Low appraisal. Hey, sellers, we sold it for too much money. Buyers, we might be able to get this house for cheaper. All of it was like, this could be good for us. Except for you just moved in a house and your pipe broke, and it was like, you're screwed. Welcome to home ownership.
Well, especially with the sellers one where, hey, we did a good job of, prepping it.
Yeah,
Sold it over. That was like. It's like, not setting the mood, but it like lightens the
yeah.
reason why we have to go down.
Yeah, you did too good at your job. Yep, so it's always start with like, what's the positive in this, or how do you like make this less scary? Because like mold is scary, but it's like, you know what, we're gonna get a house and we're gonna have them fix whatever it is, and this might get you like, maybe there's new carpet, maybe you get new paint, maybe you get a recently demoed basement or wherever the mold is, like all these positives from it. From there, the next step is really take action. And this just might be information gathering. Do you know that there's like tons of different types of mold? I did not even know this until a month ago. But there are multiple kinds of mold, and some are normal and some are bad for you. And so, and it always is moisture. It's always a cause of mold. So where is the moisture coming from is the first step. Let's isolate where the moisture is coming from, fix that, and then we'll just get rid of all of the mold. And there's companies that do that. It's like, that's the action you need to take. The appraisal slow. I'm gonna go find comps, or we're gonna go start negotiating. It's always like, this isn't as bad as you think. I'm gonna go take action. And then the last step is communicate what you're doing. The hardest part about an agent and why most people don't think that we are valuable is because they don't know what we did. Like, let's imagine that the appraisal comes in low. You're the seller, the buyer's agent calls you. They say, come down 10 grand, and you just flat out say no. Like, you are so confident that you're like, I'm just gonna do this. And you just negotiate all of these things for your sellers. And they end up finally agreeing to just come up with the cash. So you don't have an addendum to sign, you have nothing to do. And then you go to closing table and the sellers are ungrateful and you're like, I did so much for them. Well, did you even tell them that the appraisal came in low and you negotiated it back up? Like, they don't know you're good at your job. So it's like, make it not a big deal, normalize it is how I would say that. Then take action and then tell them what's going on. The more you can loop them in, the better. And then nothing is scary. Except for spiders and snakes and stuff. Ivan, what are you scared of?
I want to say spiders too, but like, huge ones, like the small ones are really fine.
Thanks, Fritz.